today with us we have a very special guest, Jana. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, Jana from Estonia, from Prototron.
And with us today is also Emīls. He's been with us the past few weeks. Thank you for being here. Would you like to talk about what do you do exactly, Jana?
Yes, I suppose that exactly what I do this week is, like the recent weeks is, I do a lot of Zooming. So I become very soon like zombie already. But yes, it's take this serious. So Prototron is an equity-free tech ideas fund. And it basically means that we scout for the teams with tech ideas, with something which they come up with their studies in the university, sometimes directly from the school, sometimes they are already working and they have just found out a new solution. And we help them to shape the idea, we help them to shape the concept of this idea, how can it be turned into the scalable business. So then we run the program and we give the money for the best ones for them to help to prototype the idea. So it's very solid understanding that, for example, if you have AI solutions in your mind to help the crisis, I don't know, economic crisis, or if you have an idea how to make a better, I don't know, MRT solution for today's crisis in medicine, then we are here to help make this idea real. So this is just what we do.
All right. So I understand that you work with a lot of startups now. So we wanted to focus a bit on that and hear your experiences from Estonia. So what are some startups or ideas that you're proud of and that you've seen succeed in your experience with working in Prototron?
So of course, as an Estonian, I'm absolutely overexcited and happy to be the part of Estonian startup ecosystem, because we have 4 unicorns, TransferWise, Bolt, and Creative Mobiles. And in Prototron, unfortunately, we don't have unicorns yet, but we have the teams who are in the list of like awaiting to become a unicorns. We are really proud about Co-Module. This is one of our first alumni. At that time, they were a team of students. They were dealing with student formula. And while they are like even not like so studies, but the activities of their interest, so they were building the formulas, and they were competing all over the world. They came up with a new solution of the battery, smart battery, and now they're producing them. And now, like last year, they have just opened a new factory here in Tallinn. Then I suppose we are very proud about Linguist. This is language learning platform based on AI. High Mobility, they're working with Porsche. Then Bikey. Then, for example, Latvian team HackMotion is also alumni from Prototron. Then maybe we have robots. We have a lot of medical solutions which are not seen on in the wider media, because they're working with very, very specific needs and very specific solutions. But I would really be happy to bring out transformative AI. This is a solution, AI-based solution again, to predict sudden death. So the only AI can track the certain pattern of the heart and can predict if the heart goes into some failure. So now it's really a very big percentage of the death when a person cannot. It's not possible very often to get into the hospital. But if they promise to get this forecast more than 30 minutes, so it will be absolutely almost enough to get to the hospital. Or again about the health, I just recently read that one of our alumni, Triumph Health, they have created a game for children who are who have some chronic diseases, and they are spending their days in the hospital. And the funny approach in this startup is that first of all, they have created a startup. They started this using of this application, and the application has a dashboard for the doctor, so doctor can analyze according to the behavioring patterns of the children while he or she is playing the game. They can analyze the mental health and mental situation of the children who are under some kind of treatment. So, and after that, this startup is now helping the university to get the information and to improve the treatment, for example, for the children who has cancer. So this is maybe what we can bring out now.
That's amazing.
That is.
I had never heard about a device that could track a heartbeat. Yeah.
And predict sudden heart failure, which is pretty awesome if it actually works out. Like
it is already works, but they have like a little bit more than 10 minutes. So they just want to be. So it's again about the technology, about machine learning, about AI. They need data to learn. So it just takes time.
All right. It's kind of scary knowing that with machine learning we can predict death. That is pretty scary. But besides this grim reality, are there any funny stories or funny startups that turned out great?
Yeah, because last time Vladislav joined us and he told us about a startup that started during a hackathon, and they participated in the hackathon while driving their car back from Austria to Estonia. It was the first Hack the Crisis. So is there anything interesting or funny or maybe quirky like that?
I don't know. I mean, such kind of stories a lot, how people are coming from whatever country is sometimes, I don't know, last year there were one girl, she were coming from Belarus, and it was a little bit like a lot of different adventures, how she got to Tallinn. But I suppose for me, it's always, the best place when the team just come to Prototron. Like we run the batches, and when they just enter the batch, they have some kind of like very preliminary prototypes or like just some kind of concept. And for example, when they do electronical stuff, they come with a very big board stuffed with electronics and wires, and said, you see, and then they show the slides, and on the slide there are such a tiny piece of equipment. So yes, all these boards we will definitely put into this kind of box, and it will be working perfectly. So I love this transition, how from this bulk concept and the bunch of wires can be really something very significant. Or for example, one of my favorite teams also is Gelatex. They are making like a leather-like material from the waste of the meat, or not meat, but the meat production. So everything what is left from the meat production, they can get together and create the leather-like material. And when they first time shown us their prototype, it was, like a very old and sticky jelly, like in some bottle. And they said, would you like to touch it? I said, sorry, I just believe you. The next time they said, oh, now our prototype is almost ready, and we already talked with high-end fashion designers to sell it. I said, oh, okay, please show me. And it was again like very, very thin pancake, like this, like a little bit burnt pancake, and it's almost transparent. I said, okay, so this is this material what you're gonna suggest, or like you're gonna sell to to some, I don't know, Ferragamo and Chanel and whoever do some high-end fashion. They said, yeah, so it's already ready. So, but then of course they already shown real like leather, and you can smell it and you can touch it, and they can already sew it and make all different features of it. So it's in my mind the most fascinating one, when from nothing basically you can get some good stuff. That's why I love the Prototron, that we work a lot with something that you can which you can touch and you can see, not only software. But AI is my favorite also.
All right, that's awesome. Yeah, those are some crazy ideas. A belt out of a bunch of meat were used. I would never have thought of that. So,
yeah.
Yeah. Say what you
No,
want.
I just wanted to say that this is what I was just reading today also about how our startups are trying to survive during the crisis, and they really find some ideas, but like you think you will never ever come up to this, like how they help in other industries, like when if they are not so flexible, or if the demand is rather high in some certain area. So that's why I suppose these startups can really be one of our it's not maybe the key, but really certain, while you have some kind of pipeline how to survive, and there are certain pieces which sometimes are small ones, but if they miss, then you cannot build up the new system. So I suppose the startups, because they are innovation drivers, that's why they're so important for the whole economical system, and that's why I really believe that startups will really help us to survive during the crisis.
Yeah, I can definitely agree to that. So you mentioned working with a lot of teams and mentoring them. Maybe the question that would be useful to a lot of viewers here would be, so what kind of characteristics do you usually see in a successful team when you see them overlay?
I love the idea that how we can say that people, like general people and families, are happy in a very similar way. But if you talk about the startups and businesses, then it's vice versa. The successful companies are very, very different, because it means that they have found some very specific niche. They have found some very specific timing, some very specific contact, and they have just created this crazy idea and just went for it. But which is really very similar is why startups fail. There is no any kind of difference, and on the first place is always the team. So this is what I also talk a lot with the companies and the founders, that please ensure that you know who are you working with. Be sure that, for example, if you make negotiations with your investor, especially in the early stage, will be very critical for you. He would like to, to rule. He will be maybe scared about his finances, and he will push you or press you, to make some pressure for you to go into a certain direction. So it's always very important to really think about how and with whom you're gonna work, because team is really is the most critical. And then of course it's very funny that people, when they come up with idea, they become so in love with it, they just cannot stop to talk about it, and they forgot very simple activity. They need to Google a lot. They need to understand who are making something similar. If there is nobody on the market, why? Maybe the technology is not there. Maybe there are some kind of restrictions from the law. So what is it? Why there's nobody who came up to this? So I would say that this is the most critical, that the team, and then if the team is not working, to get acknowledged about the environment where they come in, if they do not analyze the information, if they do not validate the idea, and of course then third one maybe is also one of the key points, that teams work like, like in isolation in the bubble. They think that they are just developing their idea, they are making their product, but they like somehow like making it for themselves, and they think that they assume all kind of stuff, and they do not test it on the real customers, on the real, I don't know, the beneficiaries, end users. They do not communicate with their client. And the best money and the best what you can do, or like the only way for business to succeed and to live, is to be a best servant for their customer. And if it's forgotten, then nothing will help.
I see.
We have 2 questions from the audience, if you would be willing to take.
Yeah.
Okay. The first question is, when would be the right time for a startup to get launched in this economic phase of depression? And following that question is, shall those of such interest wait until the bottom of the market, or are there feasible opportunities even during the downward tilt?
There is nothing more better, nothing more beautiful and powerful than the idea in the right time. So it's really according to the idea. If your idea is about how to minimize all these conditions what we have with the crisis, how to help people during the isolation, then of course you don't need to wait any kind of second. And you just, and especially it's very important to go and to make a research. And if now the society is so eager for some, I don't know, digital solutions, some solutions in telemedicine or whatever now is really important, then it's maybe the best way and the best moment to test it.
So you're basically saying that people should follow demand. If there is demand for something, for example, as you said, a way to help people in isolation, then you should try and meet this demand if your idea is going to meet this demand.
Absolutely. So it's yes. If idea is to fight the crisis, then of course you need to do it yesterday. If idea is, I don't know, just to relax with your friends on the island, then maybe you should not test it now. So it really depends on the idea, but you should be very aware of the trends of the industry, what you would like to enter in. You should be really you should get the information like a sponge, just and analyze it. So what is the right moment? Who are the right partners? Why is the strategy is this one? What's going on with the big players on the market? Why they're I don't know, closing down, and what will go on? So, for example, I don't know if Air Baltics is closed now. So what kind of other sources or kind of solutions can benefit from it? Sorry for this kind of approach. But as a business mind, you should always analyze very quickly. Okay, so if this goes down, so where I can find the opportunity to raise my business, but it cannot be done without if you really point to some kind of pain. So, for example, our Bolt, they are basically the taxi drivers, that for car sharing. But they were so quick, in Estonia, to help shops to deliver the food from the stores, because our, I don't know, Selver and Rimi and everything, they were not, they could not manage the demand what they got from because of the crisis. And now I know that they again have created one more application to help our post offices, because our big post system is also cannot manage the demand what there are for the packages. So just be tender, for the what's going on the market and what is needed in society. And if you find like what is the pain, and if you really can solve it, then just go immediately.
Yeah, that was a very nice question.
Before, just make shareholders agreement with your team and then go.
All right. Yeah, that was a nice question from the audience. I guess our next question is similar to the one that the audience asked. Anyways, Emīls, please.
Yes, that actually kind of threw us in a very good direction, because I was about to ask, since finally talking about the crisis, what kind of new ideas have you seen in your experience working in this industry that help fight the crisis, and what aspects of it?
Wow, should I generate it like immediately? I suppose all kind of distance learning, and of course all kind of opportunities how to communicate. So everything what so yeah, I suppose yes, this is the major, because it seems that they have been always been Slack and Discord and Zoom, but for now there are a lot of rivals of the Zoom, for example, coming up, and so I really think that very soon we will see big companies, new companies who are providing the video conference solutions. And the idea is how to create, not only just e-meeting, but real connection in that point, that we are not only, turn on the Zoom and making some meeting, but we are really connected to each other, so we can work as a team, be in distance, but still working together via the technology. And now, of course, the teams are using all kind of bunch of different platforms and adopting them to themselves. But I suppose this kind of solutions will be very soon and very visible. Then, of course, there are a lot of ideas which were like boosted from the telemedicine, and it's it is also the market never goes like nothing like somebody just throwing the ideas into the market and then we can see that they grow. It always goes like all together. Society is eager for something and somebody can like tackle it. Very like what we have seen during the first weeks of the crisis is that existing companies, like existing startups, existing solutions and platforms, they started to adopt themselves to serve the needs of the people who are in isolation. So this is what, and for me, okay, I know about the Netflix and about the records of the sign-ups and watch hours. I'm really sorry, but I do not have Netflix account, and I'm not sure that I will do it in some very near future. But I really believe that we will think about the distance learning in another way. And what I really love that our people has understood that the same as like e-commerce, for example. I don't know how it's in Latvia, unfortunately, but for example, in Estonia, I was really surprised that some rather good retailers, they haven't had like a solid solution for e-commerce, and they really crashed. They really crashed during the first weeks. So I believe that there will be some money income for software development companies, and also I love all kind of ideas. How, for example, if we see what's going on now with hotels, with restaurants, then how we will absolutely like rethink about the idea of going out and about the events and how well the theaters have been reacting. And about the hospitality sector, I've seen one of the startuppers from one of the founders in Estonia. He claimed that maybe we can use all these people and just teach them to code, and then we can race again as a digital country. So let's see what will be going on. But if just analyze the history, the crisis is really very good to boost innovation, but the prolongation of the isolation for people is very destructive, because it really leads to chronic diseases. But at the same time, for example, in Prototron batch now we have a couple of teams who are working to create the tools how to help with mental diseases, because it will be very big problem soon. So isolation is very bad for people, because we still want to discuss, we still want to work together. But the crisis is good for the economy, because sometimes we need a restart, and the economy was already a little bit boiling.
Yeah, I've heard that there was a lot of loaning to businesses that shouldn't have gotten those loans, and now everything's become super inflated. But
yeah, and I don't know, do you have the package, like these the government support packages in Latvian?
Yes.
So we have the same, and I was really I was analyzing the lists who has got the help, and really, sometimes it seems like somebody has taken the support from the government just because everybody's taking, and sometimes I see that the company was already in troubles before the crisis. So unfortunately, but this is the market. If we let it go, but of course we need to keep the social social system in the right way, but the economical system will be a little bit so-called clean up from those who were not ready and who has not done the work well before the crisis.
Yeah, so, it's indeed a tough job to figure out which companies were already suffering before the crisis and which are suffering because of the crisis.
Mm-hmm.
We could see that in Latvia, a lot of businesses, especially in the service industry, for example, restaurants and hotels closed down just because there were no people attending. And how would these businesses survive? How would the restaurant survive in a time when no one is visiting it?
I suppose you have the same, and it's all over the world, that some restaurants decided to make all kind of delivering of the. So they became these delivering companies. But I really love that some restaurants started to deliver the chief kits. So it means that they're not prepared yet meat. And it gives for restaurants, a little bit more certainty, stability, because it's not like you are sitting and waiting when somebody will, order some a la carte lunch, but you package it and you put the instruction how to prepare it. So everything is pre-prepared, and you got the a la carte. And it means that even those who are not some kind of KFC and pizza and sushi, which is very common to be ordered home, but it's another restaurants also found out this kind of solution. But of course, it's not the option for everyone. And I see some restaurants are providing even specific. Not even food, but just, for example, some kind of specific cheese and some meat, which you maybe cannot buy from the ordinary shop, but they have some kind of suppliers, so you can buy via them. But I just was talking with my friend who is running a very big restaurant, and he decided to close down everything because of his facilities are so huge. that the demand for ordering food is not so high. So he decided just to put everyone for vacation. But of course, he has already created all kind of plans. As soon as government will lose a little bit of the restrictions, then how they will start to work again. So it's all about the cutting the costs. It's all about the thinking and calculating how you will survive.
So
maybe, yeah.
So the business has to stay flexible in a way, to try new ideas and experiment, even though it might fail.
I think that if you decide to close down for the crisis, then what you still can do, you still should ensure that your client will not forget about you. And even you open up, then they will come. So this connection, it's again about the connections. So it's again about the social media. It's again about the working with your customers. How you will ensure that they still love you. How you will ensure that they still are loyal for you, because it will be very important. So the companies will survive only if they still have their customers.
So yeah, I feel like it's kind of like, survival of the fittest, but only in the business industry, which a business can, hold through.
Ask again.
I feel like it's basically survival of the fittest, but in the business industry. So that's, yeah. That sounds like it.
The human is not so, like, we are not as a tiger or lion. We don't have we cannot fight, but we use our brain and our and our communication, and this is what makes us like power. So I suppose in a business is the same, even if you're small. So it's sometimes even harder, for the big corporate, if the product was like nice to have, not must to have. Maybe for them it's much more harder to survive, because always for every and each of business, it's extremely expensive to stop down and then to restart. And the small ones, they just can like sit a little bit and then jump up and so on. So just use the brain and connections. So network as much as possible. It will help, especially small companies.
All right. Okay, I see. So the final questions, to slowly wrap this up, talking about the large-scale economy. So in your opinion, how long will it take for some parts of the economy to recover? Because we all know, and everyone's been talking, that there's an impending financial crash that's, well, my friend's going to be, some of my friends say it's going to be bigger than 1929. Then some people are saying this is just going to blow over. So what is your opinion on this? How big is it going to be, and how long will it take for us to recover?
As I already told, if we take the market, the big market, then I suppose we can somehow will be we can feel ourselves that we know what the trends are, maybe in 2 years or 3 years, because there will be our economy was really based on the fossil resources, on the transport, on this all kind of globalization. But if we just analyze what was going on, then globalization was already decreasing, just because, for example, if we take Finland, one of the richest countries, what was happening, that they took away their production, for example, partly, not of course all, from the China, because when everything is somewhere produced somewhere, and all this globalization and all this global network of supply and procurement, then the people who are, for example, in Finland, and they are not the owners of big companies, then they don't have money, to buy even the cheap stuff which was made in China. So it was necessary, to employ people on site. So it was already the signs that the globalization will be ruined. So now we see that how our countries and how our business can survive during the isolation. So being in the bubble, really serving only one country, or being able to serve different countries and still like be under the restrictions. So I think that we will definitely survive. I think this crisis is bigger than the crisis, for example, of the dot bubble, dot bubble. But it will, because it will definitely, shift our paradigm. The same as when was dot-com bubble, then everybody thought about that you just make your website and you become rich. And then you understood, oh, you should make a service also. But now, now everybody should understand how we are connected and what's going on when everybody's commuting everywhere, and how, for example, we depend on the petroleum prices. And I know that in Latvia and Lithuania, the prices for gasoline is decreased, and Estonia not. I don't know. We are still thinking about something. Or we are so rich. I don't know. But what's going on the stock markets, it just shows the possible predictions for the near future. And we can understand, okay, so those ones who are playing on a big market, they think that we will not use such high demand the petroleum. We need to take it as, okay, this is a trend. So what does it mean? It means that we need to have more separated and more local grids, more, I don't know, this renewable resources for the energy. We should be more independent in the case of energy, and something like how we use our cars. We need to be ensure how our public transportation works. So there will be a lot of different stuff. And of course, what I really think that in such kind of crisis, there will be a lot of so I really believe in girls' power. Sorry, guys. So in such kind of post-crisis periods, there's a high demand for so-called soft solutions, like social industry, medical industry, or maybe some kind of rather complicated solutions, which is very often led by a woman. So I really predict that it will be a high boom of women-led companies, and very successful and very powerful. And as we see already what's going on the political market, it's a new term what I've come up. Okay, on the political area, that the prime minister, so if you analyze the country and the countries which is led by the woman, they are really more stable, like in the case when you just listen how the women are communicating what's going on now, because they really explain it in a very, so they not rush, they do not do oh, we will think, oh, we will just do. They explain, you see, we are in this position and we need to eat our shit, sorry, and then we gonna go further. So I really believe that this is gonna be a major change, and there will be more and more women in top management. And it means that more diversity for the business, more diverse teams, and it's always only benefit for the innovation and better life.
Well, yes, diversity is definitely a key ingredient of innovation.
Yeah.
Another interesting thought I never thought about. So you're basically saying that globalization is going to decrease because of this crisis.
I really believe it, because it will just be we will again start to think about how we can work in small bubbles. We really will begin to think more about the local community. And there are a lot of very good products and services which were born like the hyperlocal solution, but then it can be scaled to another places. And everyone will be looking for the local market, for the local resources, because we will be in the crisis with foreigners who are coming to work into our countries. it will be political decision, it will be economical decision. So I suppose, yes, that we will be a little bit like decreasing the globalization and be more aware about how we can work from our own desk in our pajama. I'm not in pajama, but in our pajama for the whole world, like be without transportation or just like communicating.
To add one question, you said something about soft industries that they are going to dominate, but what kind of industries will rise from the ashes of this crisis and dominate, or gain a bigger hold in the economy after this crisis?
I suppose it will be all kind of I call them like hybrid services, which means that the service which has very good digital layer and very good like some kind of tangible layer. So all kind of education, all kind of like medicine or some psychological services, all this we will really like live in another way. I'm really wondering about what will go on with real estate, because I suppose the way we have used the commercial spaces will be changed again. And also it's already changed the picture when you look for for example, mobile positioning. Then a lot of people are moved to the villages, like outside of the city, because the rural area today can already offer you rather very high standard of the living. The internet is there, fresh air is there, so why you should go to the city and be in the dust? So I suppose the real estate will be rethinking and again reorganizing themselves. Then again, healthcare will make a great leap, and everybody who is operating nearby this sector will also benefit. Construction, I suppose that after the crisis, the countries like the country governments, what they can do really for their own businesses is to start to order as much as possible and maybe to build as much as possible, just to not only, as we discussed at the beginning, just to give the support and the grants for the businesses, but really give them an opportunity to earn money. So I suppose this is what I see will be like in the near future.
Interesting. So everybody should have a startup having a tangible and a digital layer. So thank you.
That's a lot of useful information.
Okay, thank you. I hope.
Yeah. So thank you, Jana, for joining us today. It was a pleasure. And it was very interesting listening to all the different kinds. Like, we never really thought about startups before. Maybe Emīls is very familiar with that, but I'm not very familiar with that. And I haven't worked on any, and I haven't really been interested. But hearing it like this, it was very interesting. Thank you. And I could see that maybe the future isn't as grim as the 1900s. So thank you.
It will definitely mean that we will work a lot, but we just need to make it smart decisions and work together. So I really believe in the communication.
Thank you. This has been the
and I will be very happy if you want to ping me and some kind of social media and just to ask, and I can help. So just ask.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This has been the Sunlit. Thank you for listening.